Well, this is what cleaned up SEMA looks like. And as you can tell, we are no longer on the BMT. And the last video, which was shot during the day on Wednesday, which I think was day 21 of last week, we had reception off and on that morning, and we ended up speaking to Jenny, our neighbor, who has been helping the moms with garbage and groceries and things like that. And Chris and Jenny, who are our friends and neighbors, were our angels in that they came over and helped his mom off the floor and calmed us down by talking to us. Jenny calmed us down by talking to us Wednesday morning. And for a few hours on Wednesday, we were even thinking that maybe we would make it not just to Fontana, but all the way to the end of the Benton Mackay and finish our through hike. But later on Wednesday night, let me see, I have some notes because some of this is running together where I can't remember what happened when. Later on Wednesday night, both Jenny and Vandana had sent us messages, but which we didn't get until Thursday morning. But on Thursday morning, it became clear that it was really no longer a choice whether we were coming home, but rather what would be the safest way and from where we can make our way home. Because Brian's mom took 2 more falls, evening and nighttime on Wednesday. And again, Chris and Jenny, we just really can't thank you enough for coming over and helping her, and Vandana for continuing to keep an eye on her hourly and making sure to call Chris and Jenny to let them know that she needs help getting up. I mean, we just really couldn't have done it. And also being so far away, it was just very tough to watch her struggle and not be home. So anyway, the decision was made Thursday morning for us that we were going to make our way home. But like I said, we were in a very remote part of the Benton Mackay, and we didn't want to willy-nilly walk down some old woods road and end up getting lost and making ourselves victims of needing a rescue and adding to all our woes. So we hiked down from where we were Thursday morning, and we got to what ended up being a paved road near a remote fish hatchery. And we walked down that paved road intending to walk 18 miles to town if we couldn't hitch and get a ride from somebody. And a few miles down that road, it became obvious why there were no cars there, because there's apparently a bridge out. And so we still were like, well, 18 miles into town, you know, it may take us a day or 2 days, but we couldn't take the 5 days needed to get over the mountains to Fontana. We needed to be home immediately. So we walked, I don't even know how many miles it was, maybe for an hour or two. And everybody we saw in some campgrounds, we were asking, please, if we gave you money, would you drive us into town? And, you know, most people have their own plans and, of course, aren't necessarily going to be able to take strangers into town out of their way. But we ended up finding a fishing tackle shop, and there was a woman who worked part-time there, and she was our 3rd angel, or 4th angel, I've lost count now, who gave us a ride. We waited for her until she was done with her shift, and then she gave us a ride into Tellico Plains. And then we spent about 2 to 3 hours in Tellico Plains, standing on Route 68 with our thumb out. And I wish I'd videoed some of it because it was actually kind of funny. Brian had a $20 bill out, and, you know, I've got my thumb out and he's back there behind me, like dancing and like, you know, showing the $20 bill and don't you want this bill? And I'm like, if I had a sign, if I had a piece of poster board, I'd make a sign that would be like, you can just pick me up and leave the crazy dancing man here. Anyway, so eventually, after about 2 or 3 hours, we actually had somebody pick us up. And we also tried to get a shuttle bus driver, like a paid shuttle, but, last minute it's hard because the only person who was available and willing to come was 3 hours away. And for him to drive 3 hours to get to us, to drive us an hour to our car, and then drive 4 hours home, that's like 8 hours of driving. And it just seemed like just not feasible, and he wouldn't make any money off of that other than just doing it because we needed to do it. So anyway, thankfully we had someone who stopped and picked us up, and actually not just gave us a ride from Tellico to Ducktown, where we were expecting to have to take another hitch, but actually drove like 10 plus miles out of his way to take us to our car, which was at Thunder Rock Campground. And by that time it was late, and so we slept. And then Friday morning we left before daybreak, making stops to pick up our tubs that were buckets that were hanging at Unicoi Gap, where we had resupplied 6 days earlier. And we also stopped into Fontana and picked up the resupply we never made it to. And then we drove home. We just took turns driving and sleeping like we do sometimes. And we ended up getting home in the early hours of Saturday morning, like 2 a.m. And so we're home. And Benton Mackay is not a through hike, but we finished the southern half plus a little bit, and we'll go back and either redo the whole thing, do it as a through hike, or maybe we'll just do the northern section as a section hike. And so now, because we've been thwarted by adulting responsibilities, we don't really know what next steps are, but we're working on getting the situation with his mom figured out. And so stay tuned for whatever it is that comes next, whenever it is that it comes. All right. Thanks for following us on our adventure.